Welcome to Inside Dance. I'm Kristyn Burtt, and joining me today is one of the newest pros on Dancing with the Stars, Ezra Sosa.
Hey
Hi,
guys.
Ezra. Hi.
Hi.
I know this has been such a big week. I'm talking to you just after the premiere of Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
Explain to me how you feel right now in this moment.
Honestly, it's like I've been on such a high, and like especially after like the first week of the show, I don't think it like hit me how massive this show is until like I saw myself on TV along with all the celebrities and the pros and everything, and then I'm like, oh my god, like I'm on Dancing with the like it's like starting to hit me now, like I'm on Dancing with the Stars, which is crazy because I've known for quite a while, but yeah.
Well, let's go back to that because I think it's
Yeah,
kind of an interesting story as
very
to how you
interesting.
went up in the show. If I'm correct, you were supposed to be in Las Vegas right now performing with Donny Osmond. Is that right?
Yeah, so Dancing with the Stars like first reached out to Steph and I like in February. And they're like, we had a meeting with them. No, we just had to submit stuff to them. And so we had a Zoom meeting with them in like July. And they're like, okay, like we'll get back to you, la da da da. They never did. So I was like, okay, like, it's not really happening. And then Donny Osmond, that I auditioned for that and I got it. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Like Dancing with the Stars wasn't even a thought. Like I just didn't see it happening at all. And it wasn't until like the third day of rehearsals when they got an email. Steph and I got the same email. We're like, you guys are a top candidate going into the season. And I was like, crap. I was like, crap. Like, what did I do? It was actually a very hard decision to make, but I thought it was best for me to leave the show and be a swing for the show. And I kind of explained with Nappy Tabs, Rita, and Raj, like, if this at the time, I still didn't think it was going to happen for me, but I was like, the slightest chance that it does, the last thing I wanted to do was just be a risk to production. Like, I didn't want to just leave you guys high and dry. So at that point, I just stepped down. I had someone learn my spot, and I was a swing for like 3 weeks. And that whole process was crazy because, I submitted my stuff. They actually reached out to Steph before me to have another, like a last Zoom meeting. And I was like, crap, like I made the biggest mistake ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you just went with your gut. And like, why did you have to, like, I was just so hard on myself. And then I had my Zoom meeting. And then after that, I still was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. I just like felt like such a turd for turning down already like an amazing job. And then I got the news and I was like, okay, it was all meant to be. It was all meant to happen. I'm in the clear. So I'm just honestly like how it all went down. I'm just so blessed. Like it could have easily, been the worst month of my life, but it turned out to be the best.
Well, sometimes you have to take those risks. And I think that there must have
Yes.
been something like instinctual or in your gut saying this is going to be the right decision in the long run because
Yeah.
you still would have a job at least as a swing and you'd still go
Right.
into the show even if Dancing with the Stars didn't happen. So did you at
Right.
least reconcile
Yeah.
that with yourself?
I mean, yeah, well, to be honest, I did a tarot reading. I'm like getting into tarot, and I did a tarot reading, and my tarot reading said I got it. So I was like, okay, okay, I guess I'm just gonna go for it. But like, I
It's in the
think
cards.
deep, yeah, like literally, it was like in the cards. Like literally, it was like in the cards saying like it was gonna happen for me. And I don't know, just a gut feeling just was like this is gonna happen, even though like how it was going down was not, it didn't feel like it was, but like deep down a part of me was like, no, you're gonna be on the show. So I'm glad like I went with my gut, and then I listened to tarot for like the first time ever. But yeah.
All right. We'll see if that plays out again another time in the future, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's like also like a stressful part of the show is like I feel pressure to do amazing because I obviously just like want to come back. So yeah, so it's just there's a lot of pressure I put on myself.
Of course. And I've got to know because you've had this dream for so long to be on Dancing with the Stars. What surprised you most when you finally got on set and saw that ballroom? I'm sure that there were a lot of surprises behind the scenes.
Oh, it was probably how big it is. I think going into So You Think, you go to the stage and you're like, oh, it's kind of small. And you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. It's kind of small. But I walked in the bar and I was like, wow, it's so big and it's gorgeous. Yeah, that was a huge moment. I kind of teared up a little bit, like going out to see the ballroom for the first time. And yeah, that was probably it. Like you usually go on a set and it's like smaller than what you think it is, but then you go on this set and it's like it to me it was like bigger. And like the floor was huge and there was just so much space in there.
I want to know from you, what is an average week like? Now, we've had to reschedule this a couple times, so I know it's not just like, hey, you wake up and you go to rehearsal and then you come home. But what is it like being a pro who doesn't have a celebrity? Like, what is your job and your
Okay.
role?
I mean, it varies every week of how much they're actually going to use us because they're even like when they offered the job, they're like, there's potentially weeks where we won't even use you. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I'm just glad to be here. So like, yeah, like whatever you guys need. But like, it just varies. Like it's, the thing is just so inconsistent. Like it's a matter of like, do we need dancers for this? Do we need extra? And it's interesting because Sophia and I are the only pros that can actually dance together. So a lot of my week consists of is just us training together. We're just practicing, getting used to each other because we know when they want to see Latin ballroom from the pros, it has to be us because of their COVID policy or whatever. So we just want to make sure like when that opportunity does come around and like they are asking us like, hey, we want a samba, we want this, we want that. We're like, we have everything prepared for them.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize, they may not know behind the scenes, that any of the married pros are currently not living together. They are, yeah, they are sequestered in different locations because they don't want two couples to get knocked out if there is a COVID positive test. So the fact that you and Sophia are the only two pros that can dance together is pretty remarkable in this season.
Yeah. Yeah, and they said they did mention like once they are eliminated, they will be able to like dance with us. But that's further down along, like, we got some ways to go. So
Yes, so that will happen. But I love that they're taking all of those precautions, but it really presents such a unique
yeah,
situation for you. Since you were a
it
part of
does.
season 16 on So You Think You Can Dance, how did So You Think prepare you for Dancing with the Stars?
It so many ways. How to dance on camera, how to be a personality for television. I think that was like one thing I learned from So You Think. How to how to work professionally, how to act in a room. There are so many things that I don't know. I really feel like very fortunate to do So You Think because the thing I loved most about that whole experience was that they saw us as young dance because we were 18, like we were all of us were very young, and they kind of like were just teaching us, like they really took us under like Jeff, Robert, Mandy, like they all were trying their best to make sure that at the end of the day, what we were doing was learning. And I feel like I learned so much from that instead of like people are like, what was the thing that you took away? I was like, all the small amount of fame we got, all the tour. I was like, no, I learned a lot. Like I learned a lot doing So You Think.
I always like to ask this question too, because you guys come off the show and then you go on the So You Think You Can Dance tour, which is, you guys are rock stars out there performing every single night. When you come off tour, what is that like? Because you've been riding on a high for months and months and months, and now you're just thrown into the Hollywood talent pool of like, oh, I have to go back and audition. So, what was that like for you trying to catch up to speed and get your professional career really started?
It sucked booty hole. It was awful. It was awful. I mean, I think definitely the high from So You Think was like, I can go out to LA and I was like, look, so much work, blah, 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 blah. But I was stupid enough to think I could move during the pandemic and find work. And there was months like I wasn't working for months. Like there was a solid like 4 months. The only thing I was doing was Royal Flex with Jackie. And it wasn't until like January when I saw like my first job and I moved here in like August, September. And I was like literally definitely like the lowest, especially coming from So You Think. So yeah, it was kind of rough, but we find our way. We find our way.
Yeah. How did you keep yourself and your spirits lifted? Because in addition to all of a sudden the tour being over, we pretty much went into the pandemic only months later. all of us have gone through that sort of the highs and the lows of all of that. So how about for you? How did you keep your spirits up?
I mean, I think it was the people I surrounded myself with, especially growing up in Utah in a dance studio. I really had friends, if that makes sense. Like dance friends, yes. School friends, yes. But I really feel like a lot of the people that were in my life at that time from So You Think, they were my friend because of who I was as a person and the accolades that I've achieved. And I found myself in LA literally at the lowest, and I made friends with the most remarkable people. And it wasn't until then where I was like confident enough to be myself and confident enough to be like, hey, like I can stand on my own 2 feet. And it was those friends that saw me for who I was as a person, as opposed to Ezra from So You Think You Can Dance, where I really got to enjoy life, like not dance, but life.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that was essential to get me to this point.
That's so great. Young dancers now don't have that same opportunity, unfortunately, with So You Think You Can Dance.
No, it's so sad.
What would you recommend to them if they're going to come to LA and say the next year or so to get themselves started? Because obviously, So You Think was such a great springboard for all of you.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get out here. Like even for me, like it was a great springboard, but it only presented, all the handful of opportunities. But I really feel like the most opportunities I got from since moving here was the connections I made from getting out here. And I feel like a lot of people are hesitant. They're like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, la da da da. You just have to send it. You're just holding yourself back if you're like, oh, I can't do it, because you're never gonna achieve, your Hollywood, like you're never gonna make it down here if you're not here. You're never gonna know. Like you have to come out here, you have to fail, you have to start over again if you want to make those connections, if you want to start making like booking work.
Yes. Or New York or Atlanta, because
Or New York,
obviously,
yeah, sorry,
yeah.
that's me. That's just like LA commercial, but Broadway too, all those things, it goes hand in hand. Like it's like doing a test. Like you're not gonna know how well you're gonna do unless you actually do it.
Right.
It's kind of that kind of thing.
Take that risk. Take that risk.
Always.
Yeah. Two more Dancing with the Stars questions before we wrap up, because one, first of all, you and Sophia are Latinx pros, which hasn't been represented on the show, and
Yeah.
it is so great to see that. I've got to imagine for both of you, it is a huge honor. What does it mean to you?
I mean, for community, it's weird because when we were interviewing with them and we were like, it was just crazy to me having it be a lot like, there's Latin in the show and not having Latin representation. Like it took 30 seasons to get there. So that for me was like absolutely like that to me was like weird. I was like, okay, yeah, it's about time that you have Latinx representation. And I don't know, it makes me super proud of where I come from. And I don't feel like I am the most Latin person, growing up in Utah. I was pretty much in white central. But come like knowing that my parents are immigrants from Mexico and Argentina, and really just growing up in Utah, I would go to salsa clubs. I would go like and do all those type of fun things, and just like really knowing the sense of community, what it means to be Latino. Like there's a huge sense of community, and just being here, making it this far as like the first Latin person, which is crazy to wrap my head around. It took this long for them to realize, but it just makes me so proud. It really does. From where I come, not from where I come from, but where my parents come from the culture, from the community. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure for me too, because I am actually going to be doing Latin dances as a Latinx pro on Dancing with the Stars. So I really want to make sure that I do them proud more than anyone, because I am here as a dancer, but I'm also here representing a whole community. So I just really wanted to make sure that my dancing was up to par for them. Like my hips were on fire. I had the natural groove, the natural rhythm. And yeah, I think, yeah.
Pave the way for the next generation. That's what you got to do. It's so good.
Seriously.
One final question, because I know that your goal will be, of course, to be a pro with a celebrity in the future seasons. So I'm going to ask you the question that every pro gets. Who would you be your celebrity if you could have anybody?
Okay. My professional answer is I don't have one because I know I'll never get the chance to pick, you know.
Right.
But
The
I
Ezra
don't know.
answer.
The Ezra answer, I toured with the Bachelor franchise after the So You Think tour, which was like it was such a like that was the funnest tour ever. And I got really close with Becca Kufrin and Ben Higgins. And I really feel like because I really feel like she could obviously make that show, like definitely be on Dancing with the Stars. But if she was my celebrity, I feel like we just have nothing but the best time, and we know each other already. And I've given her like a salsa lesson or two, so I don't know. I feel like that would be just really fun, just to be with someone that I know and I'm super comfortable with. I definitely feel like that's my dream.
It's a good answer because we also know Bachelor Nation votes very well for their
And
contestants.
they perform very well on the show.
They
They do very
do.
well on the show.
I know. Glad to see Matt James there. I was shocked at how well he did. I was
Yes.
like, what a wonderful surprise. What a performer.
Lindsay did like the choreography that Lindsay did really showcased him really well. Like I was sitting back there watching, I was like, this choreo is amazing because it really showcased him in the best way. It really did.
Yeah, she's magical when it comes to that. And it's also a good opportunity for you to sit back and watch and see what the pros do and go, that's a great tip to take
Yeah.
when I'm in the studio in the future with a celebrity.
I'm literally I'm sitting there, and if I'm not working, I'm just watching the monitor. I'm watching all the pros. I'm watching because I really feel like I'm in this position where I could, just take it for granted and like, I'm here to have fun. But I'm like, when I'm on set, it's weird because when I'm on set, I'm in work mode. I'm professional. People are like, are you so excited to be? I'm like, yes, I'm excited to be here, but I'm working. I'm here. I'm watching all the pros. I'm seeing how they interact, how they are with their star, how they're treating them, because I know there's gonna, if the opportunity does come, I want to be the most prepared.
Right.
I don't want
Anyone is sick or injured, you step in.
I step in. Yeah. So it's weird because I'm there and I'm in work mode, and I really feel like a lot of people are like, oh, he's having those moments like I'm living my dream. But that's when I get home and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like I just met Jan from the office today, and she said my 2 counts of 8 dancing was amazing. And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. But then I see them like, I'm just professional, I'm nice, and I'm just being very observant.
I love it. Jan from The Office.
She's my personal favorite so far, if I were to have a favorite. And it's because I'm a huge Office fan. And it's weird just sitting there and seeing how she interacts with people, because I feel like she's definitely Jan the character. Like, not like her, but like she has those little nuances where like Jan comes out a little bit. And that's when I'm like, oh my God, like I get very excited.
You're like, that's a Jan moment. Jan.
Yeah, yes. I'm like, yes.
Laura's very talented. So I'm looking forward to. I've interviewed her before, and she's unbelievable. And she's gonna have a good season with Artem. So I'm looking forward to it.
No, she is. I loved her routine. She has such spunk. Like when she dances.
Fire. There was so much adrenaline going on. I was
fire.
like, and I thought about that. The one thing I thought about with Melora too, because she had so much adrenaline going, I'm like, that's a performer you want, because if you need to pull her back a little bit for something softer, you can, but you already know that she's going 110%. It's harder to get someone to ramp up if they're only at like 25%. So 100%. She's perfect.
Yeah, I think she killed it. Like her routine was honestly my favorite of the night.
Yeah.
I loved watching her perform and dance. Like, even though like her, like obviously like technically like maybe she wasn't the best, but performance wise, like I just sat there and I was just able to enjoy her as a person and as an artist and as a performer, and not just like worry about, oh, that was kind of weird. I was like, wow, she's killing it right now. I'm like, she is killing it right now.
Yeah. And if there's anything we know in terms of Dancing with the Stars, it's not just the technique, it's about the journey and about the emotion you put out there and the personality. So we'll see what happens during season 30.
Yes, it's going to be a really good, honestly, I feel like the celebrities, there's a lot of them that are already like a very good start in the competition. Like as far as, like being on their stuff, having their routines down and like looking good. I feel like there's a lot of them that are already in a place of like comfortability where they're just able just to go out there and perform, and they just like nail it. And I'm like, wow, like I don't feel like there's ever been, I've obviously like, I'm not like a fanatic and like watch every season. Like this is the first time I'm like actually like invested in the season. but I really feel like there's like a strong handful of celebrities that have a very strong shot at winning. Like I can't say, I obviously there's like front runners, but you don't know how it's gonna go in the season. You just never know.
It never plays out the way you think. And
No.
oftentimes the most technically trained dancer doesn't win. So it's always something to follow in terms of that. We'll see. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward
Yes.
to it because there are a lot of
100%.
great contenders.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it too. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, who's gonna win? I'm like, they're all so good.
I know. We can only like fast forward another 10 weeks or so. We'll find out. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. And I'm so thrilled for you. Congratulations. Because I'm like, who knew? Like, if I could tell Ezra, you know, when we sat there the night that you had gotten eliminated from So You Think You Can Dance, and go, don't worry, it's all going to work out.
I would have never believed you. Honestly, I would have never believed you. I'm just as shocked to be here as I don't know. I just keep on pinching myself every single day. Like I can't believe that this is my life right now. Like I really can't believe it. And I'm just so blessed and thankful. Like really I am. So yeah.
So good. I'm so
And
happy for
thank you, Kristyn, because your family, you're part of the Sosa tribe. Like whether you like it or not. Like, and I think it's amazing how you know more about the show than like me. And I'm just like, as far as like the tea and everything, I'm like, how does she know what the next 4 weeks are? And I don't even know what my day looks like. Like she, like you guys, this is like, you are the source for Dancing with the Stars. You are.
I
You
try.
really
I have
did
sources
you get
all
all
over the
the,
place.
did you guess the pros and celebrities? Like, was it all right?
Yeah, they were all correct, 100%. And this has been, I mean, I've done this now for quite a few years. So it's,
Great.
I have a whole method to it. And I have little magical elves and fairies behind the scenes who help me and guide me. But I will say that Jimmy Allen, someone submitted a photo of, you know, they were all wearing the mirrored visors and they submitted a photo and I spent 2 days pretty much staring at his tattoos and everyone was like football player and I'm like it's not a football player and based off the way he was dressed because he had like camo on I was thinking hunting so I started thinking Nashville so I started thinking country singer and I eliminated from there and then someone had a page about Jimmy Allen's tattoos and I found the rose tattoo he has the keyboard tattoo he has and the guitar tattoo he has and that's how I said Jimmy Allen's on the show.
So you're like an investigator.
I'm a little investigator.
You can find out anything.
Yeah, and Melora was the other one I spent 2 days on looking at. And you know what?
All right, I think I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that.
Confirmed Melora. She has a little like freckle right here. You can tell her this, that it came down to her freckle and her wedding ring. And someone gave me like a close-up shot and I said, I can't see. She has 2 rubies in her wedding ring. Can you go and like make that bigger for me and zoom in to see if it has 2 rubies? And sure enough, it did.
It's funny because they're like on set, they're like, you guys make sure like you guys don't post who your pros are until like after you guys perform. I'm like, okay, well, everybody knows because Kristyn Burtt told everybody already. I'm like, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, everybody knows.
It's not a secret.
I'm like, it's no secret, like everybody knows at this point. But I guess some people didn't, I don't know.
And ABC knows that I spoil it too, because ABC PR follows me. So it's not.
Oh my gosh, they're probably so scared of you.
They're not. I've worked with them on so many different projects, so they are fine. I think that they know that it's like the super fans that follow, but I think like the rest of America.
Majority. Yeah, that's what they're kind of mentioning. I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But
yeah, it does make sense. So I'm like, I'm not worried about it.
Like you literally know more than most on the show.
It's crazy. I know. It's kind of crazy how it all plays out, but it's fun. It's fun. I like to play my sleuthing game every year.
And you win. You win every year.
Sleuthing season's in, yeah. All right. Well, so good talking with you, Ezra. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. That means a lot.